Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched the 1973 TV special Julie on Sesame Street. And that's it. And our Muppet of the Week this week will be Mr. Snuffleupagus, who is featured in the Julie on Sesame Street special. But before we get too far into, talking about the actual special we watched, I wanted to bring something up with you, Sam, that we've talked about in the past briefly, because I started it in earnest this week, and it is my Halloween costume.
Oh, you started? I guess it's getting not too far away from Halloween, so that's
and
okay.
I have no idea what I'm doing in trying to construct this costume. Because I am trying to be Carol Spinney for Halloween, but behind the scenes, Big Bird, Carol Spinney. I'm going to have the Big Bird legs and feet on, and then get a goatee going, and then also try to make like a little replica monitor that I can wear on my chest. So I'm basically Big Bird, but take off the bird upper body part.
And a weird little wig. Right?
Yeah, I do have to try and find a good wig for that. That'll be not the hardest part of this. But I bought the foam and some stuff to make the patterns for the feet, because I'm going to tackle the feet first, because I feel like that's going to be the hardest part, is carving foam and stuff. But so I've looked into basically how to do this, and there's been two categories of YouTube I have fallen into to figure out how the hell to make this costume. One is the cosplayer side of things, because the foam I bought at the fabric store is actually cosplay branded foam, which is a thing you can just buy. You can just go and buy cosplay supplies. Didn't know that was a thing. I thought everything was from scratch. But the other one is the furry community on YouTube, who do not have much familiarity with before this, but their tutorials on making suits are extremely helpful in learning how to work with foam, and specifically big ol' fake animal feet.
I think we talked about this before, not on the show, but I think it could be argued in a way that Big Bird is Carol Spinney's fursona.
I think if any of them full-body Muppets are a fursona for the creator of the performer within, I think Big Bird is probably the closest. Can you be a bird fursona, or do you have to be a furry animal to be
No.
Okay.
There's lobster fursonas. You can be bugs. You can be anything you want to.
All right. See, I haven't delved that deep into the furry YouTube side of things.
The only thing I think that would bar that from Big Bird being his fursona is that he was hired to play Big Bird. I think you have to have your fursona just come out of your soul in a less capitalistic way.
Right. You have to develop your own fursona based on your personality.
I think, yes.
Okay.
That feels right to me. I don't think there's any rules about this, but I feel like you can't be hired to play a character.
You might be shunned from the community if it's you're a furry for pay.
Mm-hmm.
This has led me down not only that part of YouTube, but I've also felt weird about how many times I have Googled the words Big Bird's feet. Just in the past week, having to look up pictures to find the right scale and figure out the size of the foam I should buy and how big these things should be. I've looked up Big Bird's feet more than people probably should, and I found a playlist on YouTube where somebody had compiled a bunch of videos where Big Bird's feet are featured, and the playlist is called Big Bird's Feet. And
I'm sure there's no weird reason they did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to assume as well. I'm going to assume they're doing the exact same thing I am.
They're doing research, yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
Did you last year think to yourself, I'm going to start working on the greatest Halloween costume of all time this year so it will be ready next year?
I didn't actually. Like, I feel like I wish I had thought of this Big Bird one earlier. Obviously, this podcast inspired it, so I wouldn't have. But yeah, like this level of sculpting and gluing and all that stuff, I wish I would have thought about that in the off season, I guess.
What if Halloween comes around and everybody shows up to the party dressed with Big Bird's feet and they're all better than yours?
I mean, the jealousy would get the best of me and I would be upset. I'm not going to lie.
Would you leave the party?
Just stomp out my big feet?
Yeah.
No, partially because I don't think, and this almost sounds like a brag, but I promise you it's not a brag.
Oh.
I don't think anyone I personally know would spend as much time on making these Big Bird feet as I am going to.
That just sounds like a really misguided brag.
Right. Yes, it sounds like I will make the best Big Bird feet, but really it's no one else is gonna be bogged down by the tiniest details of sculpting these feet to be the perfect shape and size as I am, while I'm in Photoshop looking at pictures of Big Bird's feet next to a Hollywood star so I can choose the scale and figure out, okay, I think it's 17 inches from toe to the back of the foot, and then it's 17 inches wide, and then, so yeah.
You're a sick man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would be... I think both surprised and maybe a little pleased to learn that we had friends who similarly were that obsessive.
If anybody out there just has access to Big Bird's feet and can measure them for Matt, please just do it.
I should just
help.
tweet. This wouldn't be put me on any sort of block list at all, but I should just tweet at Matt Vogel and be like, "Hey, sir, how big are Big Bird's feet?"
Big Bird has a Twitter account too. You could tweet Big Bird, ask him how big his feet are.
That's true, but I feel like he would say there's a 36E or something like that. Like I feel like
yes,
he would
say
just
some fake shoe size.
Yeah, like 17 double wide or something. Yeah.
Oh, classic Big Bird. Just answer the damn question.
How big are your feet, Big Bird? I need to know for science. And yeah, nobody on the internet has answered this question. I have searched through many a forum. And it's really also hard to search Big Bird feet size because people put, he's 8 feet tall, and that comes up in the same Google search as size and feet.
It's annoying that feet and feet, same word.
Same word.
Damn it.
Come on, English.
How many feet is Big Bird's feet? 1 Big Bird foot, of course.
Yeah, it's 1 foot. All right, so that's enough about Big Bird's feet for now. I'm sure there'll be updates on Big Bird feet in the future as I continue to try and suffer through making them. But for now, we're here to talk about Julie on Sesame Street. So Sam, tell us what it is.
Julie on Sesame Street. Airing the night before Thanksgiving, 1973, Julie on Sesame Street is basically an episode of The Julie Andrews Hour, except it's on a recreated Sesame Street set. It probably would have been an episode of The Julie Andrews Hour, in fact, if that show hadn't been canceled a couple months earlier. It seems like for both contractual reasons and in recognition of the fact that the Julie Andrews Hour won 7 Emmys in 1973 and then promptly got canceled right afterwards, ABC, kind of as a consolation prize, gave Julie and Lord Lou's production company a handful of TV specials over the next couple of years, and this is one of them. Anyway, it's a fairly standard 70s variety show, full of standard 70s variety show stuff. Julie starts out in a big void asking Oscar the Grouch where Sesame Street is, and then he says, "Follow me," and his legs pop out the bottom, and then a bunch of other trash cans with Oscar legs come out. She does a big dance number with all of them, and then eventually ends up on Sesame Street after this big dance number where she talks to Big Bird, and then Kermit pops up and talks about how he has laryngitis so he can't sing Being Green, and then she sings it for him. Then for some reason Perry Como shows up and he sings his version also for some reason of Don McLean's And I Love You So, which not for some reason, it was a big hit for him at the time and was the last time that he would hit the top 100 on Billboard. So his career starting in the 40s, this was basically the end of it that we're seeing. Then he chats with Big Bird, and that's kind of sweet and funny. And then suddenly we join Julie in a white void for a very long dance routine based on counting to 10 with a bunch of very weird dudes. The next part is even weirder and longer. Julie and Perry Como sing a medley of songs with the words sing or song in the title, and it goes on forever and ever, and not a single Muppet pops up in the whole damn thing, and they just keep going and going and going. They sing literally every song, I think, that has sing or song in the title. Then it's kind of made up for. Muppets finally start to appear again. Biff the construction worker, who I was not familiar with before this special, and Bert and Ernie are hanging out on the stoops of 123 Sesame Street, talking to Julie and telling her that they should be on Broadway with her. And they start fantasizing about that, which leads to another medley, this time of a bunch of Broadway hits, and all of them feature tons and tons of Muppets. Very Muppet Showy kind of production. So it's less like, why is this happening? But it's still weird in that one of the songs is about fucking, basically. Bert does a racist impression during The King and I, and Cookie Monster eats Julie's clothes off of her body, and then she blows him up with dynamite, and he tries to eat her shoes, and it seems very like somebody has some kind of weird fixation that they're playing out through Cookie Monster. Then
it's like the reverse of the Big Bird feet thing. This time the Muppet is infatuated with the feet.
Yeah. Cookie Monster's feet aren't worth mentioning, but his obsession with feet definitely worth mentioning. Then the thing's basically over. Perry and the Muppets say goodbye, and then Julie sings a sad song about being alone, and that's the end of the special. Happy Thanksgiving.
All brought to you by GTE Sylvania. The best name in radios, phones,
communications,
computers,
and light bulbs.
Yeah, everything. Pretty
Every
much.
Every single ad is for GTE Sylvania, which is a communication company. Sylvania still exists as a light bulb company.
And I remember seeing GTE on phones, like landline phones. But yeah, I think they made payphones and stuff as well as like home landline phones. So I remember seeing that logo, but I could not have like told you what else they did or that they were connected to Sylvania.
Yeah. They make TVs too, right? That was one.
Sylvania makes TVs for sure.
To make up for last time not doing any research about the year that this took place in Muppet World, around the time this aired, according to Jim Henson's Red Book, it seems like the Valentine's show was what they were really focusing on right now. I think they were rehearsing for it in the days around this special airing, so they were about to film it.
Yeah, when I was looking up stuff, it seemed like the summer of 73 was when they started writing it. Like they met with the writers to start working on the Valentine show. And then around this time, they were starting to rehearse and shoot things.
And then not in Muppet World, what else was going on in November of 1973? I thought there'd be a bunch of cool stuff, but the only big thing that I found was Richard Nixon gives his infamous I am not a crook soundbite a couple days before this in response to a question about Watergate. So then I looked at 1973 pop culture in general. In music, Elvis's Aloha from Hawaii is broadcast all over the world, which was kind of like his big comeback / also his big like last thing he did, maybe? I don't know when he died, but
he died in 77.
Okay.
Because I remember there's this whole thing about like people, there was like some article or something like that, like, did Elvis see Star Wars? Because he died in August of 1977.
Oh no, I hope he did. He would have liked it.
Yeah, maybe. I know nothing about Elvis.
I think, well, he loved comic books, so I think he would have loved
all right.
Star Wars probably.
Well, hopefully he got to see that one before he died, a month later.
Also, Kiss performs their first concert in New York, or in New Jersey, I can't remember. DJ Kool Herc MCs a party in the Bronx that is considered to be the first hip-hop performance of all time.
Oh.
Roberta Flack's version of Killing Me Softly was one of the biggest hits of the year, and that song comes up a couple times in the Julie on Sesame Street special and is sung in that medley of sing-in songs. Big movies from that year, The Poseidon Adventure was like the #1 movie for almost the entire year, it looked like. Soylent Green was released this year. Pam Grier's breakout film Coffee, Enter the Dragon, and Serpico. In TV, soap opera The Young and the Restless premieres, but maybe not at the best time because the Watergate hearings seemed like they were continuously preempting daytime TV up through like the end of the year. And Betty White joins the cast of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, becomes a big star, as she still is, beloved by all. And a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving premiered just a couple days before Julie on Sesame Street. So that's the big stuff. Also, that Battle of the Sexes tennis match, that happened this year too. Billie Jean King and some guy whose name I can't remember.
He just looks like Steve Carell in my head because that's who played him in the movie.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, well, that's all he deserves to be remembered, probably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he seemed like a scumbag, so...
he was like a big creep who...
Yeah.
So that's Julie on Sesame Street and 1973.
The other thing that happened right around this time was Sesame Street Season 5 premiered on November 19th, 1973. And Season 5 is known for being the first appearance of Super Grover. It's also the debut of Bert's dance and song Doin' the Pigeon, which is a fantastic video if you've never looked that up.
I've never seen that, I don't think.
It's very weird and like one of those things that I don't think they would do now, partially because they don't feature Bert as like a star as much anymore. But it's also just very bizarre because they do like a full body Bert where like clearly like Frank Oz and somebody else was like dressed in black so they blended into the background and they're controlling
I see.
Bert's full legs and head and everything. And then I thought what was interesting is that the curriculum for Season 5 of Sesame Street was apparently focusing on affect behavior, which includes lessons on emotions and feelings and children being able to recognize feelings and emotions like pride, love, fear, anger, surprise, happiness, and sadness. So this seems like it probably stemmed right from the failed affect show idea, where they wanted to make this whole separate show featuring Muppets and everything called the affect show to teach those things. And so they didn't go that way, so they just funneled it into Sesame Street.
They used all that research they did.
Yeah. I also found that there was not a lot going on during the latter half of 1973 in the Muppet world or outside of the Muppet world, which, again, we talked about before. This is a big time for him trying to get that Broadway show off the ground and also just think of new ideas for TV pilots. We talked about in the last episode how the Valentine show is the big thing coming up after getting the green light from Michael Eisner, so we'll be talking about that next episode. But this, the reason we watched one thing this week is because there wasn't much going on. But what did you think of it sort of overall?
Well, I didn't really like it that much. I didn't hate it, but again, like the last thing, it seemed like there were opportunities that they could have used Muppets where they didn't. So then it ends up being, a lot of time before you see a Muppet. But also, Sesame Street has so many songs that it seems weird to me that they basically just sing one song from Sesame Street. It's like literally Julie on Sesame Street. It's not like she's just there doing the thing that she would normally do anyway. She just happens to be standing on Sesame Street while she does it. So it was a little bit puzzling, I think. Like, as I've said before about other specials, I can't remember which ones. If I had, like the Perry Como thing. If I had watched this being a Muppet fan at the time, I think I would have been a little bit like, okay. Why did Bert and Ernie only show up in like one little part? Or like, why is the whole first half of this special completely Muppetless, basically?
Well, that's not true.
There's probably 22 minutes where you don't see a Muppet in one huge stretch.
So there's 20 minutes in the middle where the only Muppet you see is a little segment with Big Bird talking to Perry Como. He interrupts that 20 minutes. But you're right. There is there's like a 4-minute dancing scene. There's a 10-minute medley of Perry Como and Julie Andrews. And then before that, there was also Perry Como's solo song that he got for some reason. And so, you get like a 20-minute segment where you have very, very little Muppet stuff. But before that, you do get like Cookie Monster and Kermit and Oscar the Grouch, Biff, and Bert and Ernie.
It's just weird to get two Sesame Street songs, basically. She sings like a version of the theme song. Then they sing Being Green. Then the whole rest of the thing is not Sesame Street songs. When they could, like, it's all like the Broadway thing seems completely out of nowhere. I mean,
to me, that felt, though, like the closest to the Muppet Show that we have seen so far.
Yeah, totally.
Especially some of those are stronger than others. Like the Annie Get Your Gun segment, I think, is really strong and just feels like it could be the Muppet Show.
Yeah, that one's fun. They're fun.
Yeah,
but it's not Sesame Street-y. It's grown up. Like the songs are grown up songs, and
I wonder if this was more so like that idea of like we want to do a special with Julie Andrews again that has more Muppets in it. Sesame Street's super popular right now. We've already got a lot of like pre-existing characters. Let's mash these two up. But the sense of humor that they put into it is a little bit more non-Sesame Muppets than Sesame Muppets, because there are definitely things in here that would not fly on Sesame Street. Like you have Perry Como and Julie Andrews songs where they're staring into each other's eyes and kissing and hugging, and then Cookie Monster being in defeat for some reason. Like these are things that you would not see show up on.
Oh, the Annie Get Your Gun song is literally about having sex.
And they're shooting guns at things. Like I don't think you're going to see a lot of gunplay on Sesame Street.
That's true. Yeah. I bet in the early days there was a couple skits where there was guns being shot on Sesame Street. But...
especially if it's like a Western-themed thing. I think that makes sense as well. There was some like pretty good reviews of this early on. Apparently in the New York Daily News, there was a review that said, "This warm, ingratiating hour full of clever, ingenious material lifts the spirit, touches the heart, and soothes whatever savage beasts might be lying dormant in one's breast."
Wow.
Yeah.
What? I think people just really fucking loved Julie Andrews.
This is true. I think that's very true.
I guess that's what surprised me is how much it leaned on it being a Julie Andrews thing. I guess probably my expectation of it was that it would be her on Sesame Street kind of being like the master of ceremonies for a Sesame Street based thing. But it was more like Sesame Street hosting her to do her thing in a different place, which was just kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's probably, if you think about the audience for this, like now if you were to get a Julie Andrews on Sesame Street special in 2021, it probably would be more focused on the Sesame Street side of things, because I think at this point, Sesame Street is so established and there's a lot of nostalgia around it that you can lean into a lot of that. Whereas at this point, adults weren't watching Sesame Street with their kids, like other than to, hey kid, watch this. They weren't necessarily getting as much out of it. So for this special, I'm sure it wasn't, hey adults, would you like to watch some Sesame Street? It's, hey adults, would you like to watch Julie Andrews? By the way, you like those Muppets? We got those too. I think part of the issue with this is like, who is this for? Like, is this for adults? Is this for kids? Who is this for? But I think overall it seems like it's leaning more towards adults, because there's some stuff in there that I'm like, kids are leaving the room during that Perry Como medley.
Or there might be stuff that parents would be mad that their kids are being exposed to via Sesame Street characters. The addition of Perry Como as basically being as important in this as Julie Andrews was also puzzling to me. I don't know why Perry Como keeps popping up in this stuff.
I mean, he was very popular with a certain like portion of people. Like I actually, I reached out to my mom, because my mom at the time this was coming out was about 20. So I was like, do you know why people talk about Perry Como being sleepy? Because I am perplexed by this idea that they keep talking about that. Like in this, we get another introduction. Basically, Julie tells Kermit and Cookie Monster that Perry Como is going to be on the special, and they go, oh, Perry Como, we should all be like Perry Como. Let's get short haircuts and sleep a lot. And it's like,
short haircuts was very weird too.
Especially when like Julie Andrews has short hair.
Has short hair, yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that apparently was just a thing. I looked it up a little bit more to see why Perry Como was the sleepy guy, and apparently this is just who he was. I looked up an article from, I think, the Chicago Tribune that said, on records, in movies, and especially on television, Perry Como was known for a style so soft and smooth and soothing that wags would joke he was napping even as he crooned. Como joked about that too, often making fun of himself and his seeming drowsiness during the many wide-awake hours he spent on television. So it seems like a thing. I think we sort of speculated that this was what must be going on, is that he's so laid back, is that he's sleeping pretty much. And that seems to be the case, because this article started off, Perry Como died in his sleep, the obituary said, but of course. It's like,
what the hell?
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, okay.
I guess what's weird to me is that he doesn't seem that much more laid back than anybody else
No,
does.
he has a very like Bing Crosby vibe about him. There's even a quote from Bing Crosby talking about how laid back Perry Como was. So everyone saw this man as Sleepy Perry.
Bing Crosby seems much more mush-mouthed and wiggly than Perry Como does.
Yeah, I would describe Perry Como as more disinterested than sleepy.
Yeah.
Like
maybe he was bored all the time and he just spun it into just like, oh, that's, I'm just laid back. But really, he just hated everything he was doing. And
he seemed to not like Big Bird for some reason.
He did seem to not like. He was frustrated with Big Bird, which is fair. I find myself frustrated with Big Bird on occasion. He can't answer a simple question.
But going back to the beginning of the special, what did you think about the opening, like all the Oscars dancing in their trash cans?
I liked that part. It was a little creepy, kinda. But like when it first happened, I knew it was coming. But then when his legs popped out, and he's got the strong legs of a dancer. He's got beautiful long supple legs.
Yeah, I don't think if you tried to draw out like the proportions of Oscar based on those legs and the head you see, I don't think it quite works out to anything that looks natural.
It wouldn't look good.
No,
it would look very terrifying. He'd have a huge butt, and like the rest of his body would just be like a little stump with a head on it.
It'd be a little bit more like Cookie Monster or Telly Monster shaped than we currently would imagine Oscar to be.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought that was great. A great way to start it off. Kind of set expectations high, in my opinion. That didn't pay off later. So did you like this? You liked this, it seems like.
I did enjoy it, I think more than you, especially. But I had a rough time with that middle segment. The Perry Como medley was just, again, not as bad as the 25-minute medley we got in the Julie Andrews Hour special.
No.
But
at least they were on 123 Sesame Street. Like, they were somewhere recognizable.
But that almost felt to me worse, that they were like singing these love songs and staring at each other creepily, like with Sesame Street in the background. Like, I was almost like, guys, don't do this here. Like, Bert and Ernie can see you.
They can see out here. Yeah, you're right outside their window.
And especially like after we found out that Perry Como was like married to the same woman for 65 years and was like in love with his high school sweetheart kind of thing. I was just like, he's very touchy-feely with lots of ladies.
Well, I wonder how much of that is him and how much of that is just that's what musical numbers and like that kind of thing was at the time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that like that was the role of when they brought on these old crooners to be on with the cute young ladies on these specials was always like, all right, well, everyone obviously has to love this man. That's his role. Like, we all love him. We all think he's handsome, even though he's old enough to be your father. Go.
He gave her a big kiss on the lips at the end.
Yeah, and I don't love Perry Como in general, but when it's like that's his role in these is to show up and sing sleepy songs and kiss young ladies, I'm like, don't love you, Perry. But going back to like asking my mom about this, even my mom wasn't into Perry Como. She said that my grandma was super into Perry Como. So
okay, well,
you're talking about even the older generation who apparently liked this guy.
Right.
So I don't know. Again, why was he on this special?
So jumping back again, sorry I brought it to the end all of a sudden, but then Julie is on Sesame Street, has a fun little interaction with Oscar. I like their dynamic because she is extremely mad at him. Yeah,
and which I actually, this is going to, again, jump around from beginning to end. This sets up a perfect end bit with Oscar. And it doesn't happen.
Yeah, because he could have been the through line through the whole thing.
Yeah, and the show opens with Oscar. She talks to Oscar on Sesame Street, and at the end, after everyone else has gone away, she's done all her stuff, she starts to sing a song of like what to do when I'm alone, and she heads over towards Oscar's trash can a little bit, and I was like, oh, he's gonna pop out and say like, you're not alone.
Shut up.
Yeah, scram, get out of here. And so I was just waiting for that to happen, and then she like dances away from Oscar's trash can, and no other Muppets show up, and I'm like, you had a perfect bookend to this special, and you didn't see it.
Oh, it would have been so funny if he told her to cram it.
Yeah.
He pops up in a little sleeping cap and he's like, I'm trying to sleep.
Right. I do like that Bert, Ernie, and Biff are sort of these like through line characters that we get they show up early. And I think, honestly, Biff is there to give Jerry Nelson a character.
Like, is Biff? I don't know. Is Biff a part of Sesame, like a big part of Sesame Street, or
he's sort of like one of those, sort of like the Mr. Johnson character who they just like throw into skits to show up sometimes. Right. I think actually like in this season of Sesame Street, he gets another construction worker that works with him. So there's like a two construction worker like duo, and they're popular enough that they're featured on the Lego set that I built. So
that's the only thing I know about them is that there's a sticker of a billboard of them on the Lego set.
Yeah, and I've like seen them in things, but don't really know much about them. So I don't know how long Biff and other construction workers named here lasted. I wanted to talk about the next segment is Kermit and Julie hanging out and going to see Being Green. Kermit starts off, he's like acting like his hipster cool Kermit, where like he's way
weird.
cooler than Bert and Ernie, these squares, which is, I don't get it. But then for some reason, like Julie Andrews asks him to sing Being Green, and he can't because he's sick.
Yeah.
And I tried to like figure out like, okay, why is this a plot point? Like, was Jim Henson actually sick and he couldn't sing? Or did they just try to find an excuse for Julie Andrews to sing the song instead of Kermit?
I don't know. I feel like it must have been the second one, but it doesn't make any sense that Kermit wouldn't just say like, well, why don't you sing it? Or they could have duetted it or something.
Yeah, there's so many times throughout this that she's just singing to be singing. So like, I don't feel like you needed to really build up a story of like why Kermit isn't singing this song with her.
Yeah, maybe he was sick. Maybe he was saving his voice for the Valentine's special or something. But yeah, I thought that was a bad appearance of Kermit. He was a little cranky. He was a little bit of a poo-pooer in a way. He wasn't game to play along. And he was talking like a hipster at the beginning for some reason.
Yeah, after like most times we see Kermit, like even a couple of years after this, he appears on the Tonight Show talking about how he doesn't like Dr. Teeth's music because he's a more like folksy, like old timer kind of music fan. And like in this, he's the complete opposite, where he's talking about like kids today listen to the cool music and all this stuff and not that old timey stuff. And I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, and I imagine at this point on Sesame Street, he is mostly in his like reporter guise and also like interviewing children. That like the two things he mostly does on Sesame Street, neither of which are a hipster Kermit. It just is like a different personification of him that we just can't shake. But then that Being Green song is great and also sets my expectations for the rest of it being based around Sesame Street songs.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a nice moment. I wish like it would be great if Perry Como had sung Rubber Ducky. Wouldn't that have been amazing?
That'd be great.
Instead of that weird, sad love song that he's about to sing.
Yeah, he sings And I Love You So for some reason.
Well, it was his last hit song.
I get that, but why that on this special?
Because they didn't know what they were doing, perhaps.
I mean, I'm looking up now. I think this is probably, if you're asking yourself, why is Perry Como on this special? I think I found two reasons. One, this album that this song is from came out in August of 1973.
Yeah.
So like many musicians do, they show up on shows to promote their latest album and sing a new song from it, even if people don't like that song. That's probably what he was doing. Two, on that album, he also recorded Sing from Sesame Street, the song by Joe Raposo.
Oh, that's a Sesame Street song?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Sing is originally a Sesame Street song. And it was recorded by a lot of other people through the years. But yes, it was written by Joe Raposo.
I did not know that. Okay. So they do sing another Sesame Street song in this when they Sing later on.
Yes, it's part of the medley of songs they do.
Okay. I forgive them slightly. Yeah, so it just seems like circumstances aligned for some reason multiple times to bring Perry Como and the Muppets together for no discernible reason.
And I enjoyed like the combination of him contrasting with the Muppets in his special. Like I thought like their banter was better, whereas like in this I feel like he doesn't want to be there as much, or he's not as committed to the bit as like Julie Andrews is, because when she's interacting with them, like with Cookie Monster or whoever, she seems like fully in, and it makes sense to me that she ends up doing the Muppet Show as well. Whereas like I look at this and I'm like, now I understand why Perry Como was never on the Muppet Show.
He was tired, you know? Maybe it's hard to engage with the Muppets when you're sleepy. Then she does her big counting dance routine, which takes place in the void from the trash can dance routine. And this is where things, to me, kind of start to unravel a little bit. I was watching this with my parents, and we were just sitting there being like, what, who are those? Mostly, who are those guys?
I think they're just Gallagher clones.
Yes, they're very specifically strange-looking guys.
If you wanted to collect, like, 70s man action figures, this is what they would look like. You have the stringy hair guy with the mustache. You have the guy with his chest hair out. You have, like, 4 or 5 normal-looking dudes.
I also find Julie Andrews doing disco dancing to be a little awkward because she's kind of she's kind of dorky.
Yes.
I think. So I think when she's trying to do like a cool new thing, it comes across as a little bit like, oh, you weirdo, in kind of an endearing way. But in this one, and also it bothered me that they were all wearing white on a white background, and they are all white, and you can't see them at all.
No.
Especially on an old TV, I'm sure people were just like, oh, well, I'm sure they're dancing. I'm sure it looks great.
Those floating heads look great.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think that this really is sort of where it starts to slow down a lot. And I think it's a pacing issue, because I think if you put this at some point in the special that's not right before the 10-minute medley with Perry Como, I think it is a little better. But because you have a 4-minute dance routine with no Muppets, and then you have a 10-minute medley with no Muppets and a weird sexual energy, and like you have GTE commercials interspersed throughout that, I'm just like, just get me back to Muppets. And thankfully,
let's see
they
Muppets.
do. And that's like when they dive into the Broadway medley with all the Muppets, and it feels the most like the Muppet Show we've seen. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. I love these segments specifically. And I don't know, like I really enjoyed, they had the Annie Get Your Gun one, which the only thing I didn't like about that is they have Grover wearing jeans. And it looked, Grover in jeans kind of freaked me out.
I didn't even notice.
He's sitting there in a cowboy hat. I think he had like a little bandana around his neck, and he's just wearing blue jeans.
Did he have a shirt on?
Nope.
Disgusting. No, Grover, no.
But yeah, it was just like,
I don't know why that's grosser than him not wearing pants.
I don't know either, but
I would be okay with that. Yeah.
Something about it like creeped me out a little bit. But after the Annie Get Your Gun thing, they do West Side Story, where it's like the I Feel Pretty, Oh So Pretty. And this is one of the ones where I feel like it works really well for me.
That was great.
Yeah. You have this sort of like blonde anything Muppet sitting there singing I Feel Pretty, and then as she's getting ready to go out on a date, she starts taking facial features off, taking her hair off, and revealing that she's this sort of like punk rock demon monster underneath. And her personality is also changing as she's changing the features. And it's sort of like, again, we've seen a lot of these like anything Muppets swapping features, becoming a different character things, but I feel like this one has like a reasoning behind it that works really well.
Yeah. Whose voice was that? Could you tell? Was that Jim?
Couldn't. In my head, it's Jerry Jewell, because in my head, it sounded like Tamanella. But I don't know if he would have been working on this at all, so I'm not going to say it was Jerry Jewell, but in my head, if I'm thinking about what it sounded like, it was Jerry Jewell. But
that's who I thought too.
Okay, so maybe it was.
But he doesn't do other stuff. Like he doesn't do voices very often.
No, and I think that's why like it maybe is unlikely that he did, but also I don't know. It did sound like him though.
Well, then the next thing was The King and I, where Bert happens to be talking in a very racist accent, I would say.
Yeah, as soon as they threw up, because in this Broadway segment, they're throwing up the signs of like all the shows they're going to do, and I saw The King and I came up, and I was like, uh-oh, we're going to get a racist Muppet moment.
My dad said, this is going to be racist. And then it immediately was. And also, Bert is bald. He's got no little black tuft of hair on top of his head, which is extremely upsetting.
His Yul Brynner impression. Is like, they're just like, all right, take off his hair. He's Yul Brynner now, and give him the racist accent that Yul Brynner also did.
His head's just so pointy without his little hair on top of it.
It does look more like a mistake than a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like when you have a show that already features racist depictions of characters, and then you're going to have a Muppet play those characters, you're going to get some racist Muppets, unfortunately.
Sure. Then Mr. Snuffleupagus comes out, doesn't do a racist accent.
Thankfully, because they name his character as like Wing Pooh, I believe is what they call his character, and so I was really afraid we were also going to get racist Snuffy on top of racist Bert, but thankfully it does not go further than that.
He mostly dances and doesn't talk, and the dance routine is very cute. Snuffy is kind of a Thog-like character, but much more tolerable to me than Thog is.
Well, that makes sense, because at this point, Jerry Nelson was playing Snuffy.
Okay.
So we get basically like nasally sad Thog, is what he sounds like.
Which is fine. I think part of what I don't like about Thog is just the way he looks. I think I don't like his design.
Yeah.
He just looks like a guy who feels sorry for himself. Snuffy looks like a guy whose life sucks, and it makes sense that he's sad.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about Snuffy in just a little bit once we wrap up talking about Julie on Sesame Street. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on Snuffy.
Then we got the Horse Right Here, or whatever it's called, the Guys and Dolls horse betting song, which is fine. Very Muppet Showy, too.
Yeah, these are the ones that start to also end like Muppet Show bits where something gets exploded or trampled or eaten or whatever. Like this is where they're trying to like build little stories into each one of these little bits, and that's like the one where we talked about when Cookie Monster was eating Julie Andrews' shoe. She then feeds him dynamite, and he blows up.
Yeah, okay, so that's the next one, is the Hey Big Spender song, where Julie's dancing on a table, and then Cookie is pulling her clothes off and eating them.
Yeah.
Not all of her clothes,
No.
her accessories.
Yes.
More than her clothes, her boa.
Had he
and
not
her
been
shoes,
stopped,
which
we don't know where he would have stopped. But
had he not been murdered by Julie.
Yeah.
He spends a lot of time eating her shoes and looking at her feet.
There's
which,
the camera also lingers a lot.
Uh-huh. But I think it's completely out of line that she blows him up at the end. You can't treat Cookie Monster that way.
It did seem a lot more Muppet Show than Sesame Street sort of tactic of like, usually if they're going to blow something up, it's like an anything monster that's just like causing somebody to have a bad day, or they're just like trying to eat stuff. And it's like, Cookie Monster was trying to eat stuff, yes, but he's Cookie Monster. You can't blow him up.
Yeah. What did you expect?
Yeah, that's what he does.
It does harken back to his origins as the monster eating the computer that explodes.
Yes, that is true. But she outright is trying to murder him.
Yes, she does kill him in the end. He has internal bleeding, and you don't see his death, but it happens shortly afterwards.
Yeah, he'll never be able to eat cookies again.
Oh, no.
They have to be blended up.
He's on a liquid diet after this.
Yeah.
That sucks. Cookie milkshake sounds pretty good, though. I bet, and Mr. Hooper would make it for him, I'm sure. That reminds me. It bothered me that there weren't any of the humans in this, too. That seemed rude to me.
I mean, you're going to get that, I think, because they had to film this in England. They had to rebuild the entire Sesame Street set over in England. And so I feel like they probably were also not flying over the
We're not going to fly
humans.
Bob over?
Yeah. I mean...
Fly Bob over.
He'll fly Coach.
Fly Mr. Hooper over. Come on.
Well, I don't think Mr. Hooper is going to be first on the list of like humans they're going to fly over to sing with Julie Andrews.
I guess, but it would have been. It just would have felt more respectful to Sesame Street had some human character been there.
I guess you're right. Like to welcome Julie Andrews, as opposed to like it sort of seems like she showed up after they were like out for a party or something like that. She's like, haha, my street now.
Yeah, she was trying to steal the show from him.
Yeah, like where's Gordon being like, excuse me, why are you dancing on my house? Like, what are you doing here? Who's your old friend?
Yeah. Then that's pretty much it. Then
Yeah,
they
it just
sing a
kinda
little song at
wraps up.
the end. All the Muppets are hanging out on the stoop with Julie and Perry Como.
Which I have
And they
found,
sing a song.
this is my new game I play when they have scenes like that in my head, is who is performing those puppets? You have Kermit, you have Ernie, you have Bert, you have Cookie Monster, you have Grover. So you have like 3 Frank Oz characters and 2 Jim Henson characters all in the same scene. Now, granted, their lines are probably lip synced and pre-recorded and all that stuff, so it's like you can still hear both voices. But I feel like I'm starting to be able to tell which character like the puppeteer is actually controlling.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, I don't think Kermit would move like that. I'm guessing Jim Henson is controlling Ernie right now, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And in this, it was one of those where I was pretty sure Frank Oz wasn't being Bert. I thought he was being Cookie Monster. And then I felt vindicated because at the end, like everyone else leaves and Cookie Monster stays to do like a special little moment. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to guess they gave that to Frank. I'm going to say I was right, even though no one can prove me wrong or right other than Frank Oz.
You're a Muppet genius.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's where I want to brand myself because that feels like a lot of pressure.
Cookie Monster's little moment was sweet too. He gives Julie a rose and then she eats it. I liked that.
And he's like, that's my kind of woman.
Yeah, that was funny. Then she sings her song and then it's over.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. Again, I liked it. I think the Broadway bit redeems the medley part.
Yeah.
I think the Perry Como of it all does drag it down a lot, but I think this is one that I would not necessarily add to the top of the recommendation list for people to check out, but I think this is one that the Julie Andrews Hour, again, I think we said in that episode, we wouldn't recommend a Muppet fan go seek that one out. This is one that I think would be fun to see, to watch, because it does feel like early Muppet Show.
Yeah, and you get some nice interactions between the Sesame Street Muppets and the humans. That's fair. It definitely wasn't a total wash. It just felt a little unfocused to me.
Yes, I think you're right. Like, it felt like a Julie Andrews special that happened to have some Sesame Street dusted onto it. Shall we move on to our Muppet of the Week, then?
Please, let's do.
Mr. Snuffleupagus / Snuffy / full name Aloysius Snuffleupagus. Snuffleupagus is also his species name, similar to Oscar the Grouch, Sam the Eagle, Kermit the Frog. He's the big, brown, Eeyore-like, elephant mammoth-looking guy. An important distinction is that, unlike an elephant, Snuffleupagus's trunks are called snuffles, not trunks.
Oh, okay.
So that is his snuffle at the end of his face. Much like a horse costume you would see in a high school play, it takes two people to perform him, one in front controlling that snuffle, his eyes and the head movement, and also doing the voice. And then there's another person who gets just to be the rear legs and butt.
Who's that? Do we know?
I have
Just
some info on
person?
that.
Okay, great.
So apparently, the inside of Snuffy's head is just a bunch of mechanisms to control him, and is very complicated. There was at some point on the internet a video of the inside, like POV of Snuffy, that has since been removed from the world. That
sounds creepy.
Yeah, and people in forums are talking about it, and the links just don't work anymore. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to track that down. But the description says that there is a long stick that moves his eyes around, so it's controlled both eyes with a stick. And then there's a string to pull down his eyelids. And then there's another handle to pull down the lower part of his mouth, because his mouth's too big to operate like a normal puppet.
To put your hand in there, sure.
Yeah, and I know there's a video of Marty Robinson, who's the main Snuffy performer now, who does the motion as if he's using his whole forearm and elbow to control the mouth. And it just seems like it's a lot of again, much like Big Bird, these full body Muppets take a lot of work to get everything going at the same time. And it's, again, thankfully you don't notice that when they're doing it, because there's a lot going on in there that it just looks like a living elephant thing. Some other things about Snuffy, and once again, being a Sesame Muppet, there's a lot to go through that I won't get to, because the Snuffleupagus species page on the Muppet Wiki, which it has its own page, is very extensive, and there's a lot to look at and go through, and so not going to get to all of that.
He's got a big old family, right?
He's got a big old family, but mostly he lives with his mom, dad, and sister Alice in a cave just off of Sesame Street. The ceiling of their cave is apparently just green moss that they just reach up with their snuffles and eat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. His birthday is August 19th, and he is forever 4.5 years old, so he's one of our non-aging Muppets, like most of them. But he feels older to me for some reason. I don't know. He doesn't feel 4.5.
No, he's too world-weary.
Yeah, he's too sad to be 4.5. If you met a 4.5-year-old who was acting like that, you'd be like, we should maybe get him some help.
What's wrong?
Yeah. He should talk to somebody. Mr. Snuffleupagus debuted in season 2 of Sesame Street on November 15th, 1971. He looked very different and much less adorable in his first few seasons. He had these bright yellow, scary eyes that sort of bulged out to the side a bit more. And yeah, not as cute as...
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go.
He looks like when you see the Big Birds from different countries, Sesame Streets, and they're kind of ooh. But this was the primary Snuffleupagus, eh?
That was the first one, and I think that's the, for the first 2 or 3 seasons he's around, that's what he looks like. He changes a little bit. First he has, these bright yellow, Sweetums eyes, and then he gets white eyes, but they're still unfocused and weird, and then eventually they focus in.
The pupils are so small.
Yeah. They settle into that look, though, pretty quickly, in the first few seasons of what he looks like now, and he really has not changed much since they finally figured out how to make him cute. But as I think most people know, Snuffy is best friends with Big Bird. Early on, the adults on Sesame Street assumed he was Big Bird's imaginary friend because he would always just, be not around when they showed up, or they would just, barely miss him. And Big Bird would be like, oh, Snuffy was just right here. And they're like, yeah, sure he was, Big Bird. We talked before about how this was changed in part because people were afraid of kids feeling like they wouldn't be believed by adults because the kids would see that Snuffy was real, but then the adults wouldn't believe Big Bird, and they're like, what the hell? Adults suck. Why won't they believe Big Bird?
Is that truly the reason, or was the arc, do you know, like, was the story arc supposed to end with them knowing who he was, or?
That's a good question. I didn't find that in my research too much of, like, if they decided that from the beginning that he wasn't going to be seen or not. I think they thought it was just funny that, like, he was always just being missed as he left scenes. But they didn't do that until 1985 in season 16 of Sesame Street is when they finally let him be seen by people.
Jeez, it takes that long?
Yeah.
Oh, so I thought that was like a second year of Snuffy thing.
No, we get like 14 seasons of Snuffy being seen by people. And I think Oscar the Grouch ends up being like the first person who sees him. And then Big Bird takes him around Sesame Street at some point and introduces him to all the other people. We've also discussed this before as well, but in 1992, the producers of Sesame Street wanted to do an episode about divorce and teach kids about divorce. Right. And so they tested an episode where Snuffy's parents were going to get a divorce, where the parents have a series of arguments and the dad moves out of the cave. And yeah, he brings them back to the cave one weekend and is like, okay, you guys stay here. I got to leave. This isn't my home anymore. And apparently it was too sad. It did not test well with children. And the producers decided to shelve it.
Just you describing it in 2 sentences is extremely sad.
Yeah. And canonically, they are still married. Like, canonically, they didn't, like, secretly divorce them and just not talk about it. They are still married. Right. And I think that scene actually wasn't really shown until recently, like that segment. And it is in the 50 Years of Sunny Days special that they aired on ABC recently. So you can see it. I think that's on Hulu now. You can find it. But yeah, it's very sad. And I can see why. But I also feel like Sesame Street has dealt with very tough subjects before. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't just like go for it.
I imagine they've dealt with divorce somehow.
I believe they have. I believe they've dealt with like divorced parents. I think they've dealt with incarcerated parents, refugee parents. Mm-hmm. So I feel like at this point they've learned how to do it. They just weren't quite prepared to deal with it back then.
Maybe Snuffy's just too sad of a character to do that to him. They couldn't live with themselves.
Maybe. They're not like, he's sad all the time, but just wait, there's more.
Yeah. He doesn't even know the half of it.
Yeah, we're going to make him even sadder. But at this time, Jerry Nelson is playing Mr. Snuffleupagus. He seems like he's just become like the full-body Muppet guy at this point because he is Thog. Mm-hmm. He does the Bossmen Muppets. He seems like, hey, throw Jerry in there. Carol's busy. Throw Jerry at that. So Jerry Nelson goes on to play Snuffy from 1971 to 1978. There are some mixed messages about why he stopped. Some people were saying it was because it like took a toll on his body and he was in pain a lot. And he was saying he just got too busy with the Muppet Show. So that way, like he couldn't be on Sesame Street as much as they needed Snuffy to be on Sesame Street. So he just couldn't do it. Right. So Michael Earl Davis took over and played Snuffy from 1978 until 1981. He ended up working with the Muppets after he met Kermit Love at a what? Can you guess, Sam?
Was it a puppet convention?
It was. Big surprise. Yes, Michael Earl Davis, who went on to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes at Muppets, Inc., played Snuffy for a short period of time. I couldn't find much information on why he stopped, but he stopped in 1981, where Marty Robinson took over, who is the primary performer for Snuffy still. So since 1981 until now, Marty Robinson, who also does Telly Monster and dozens of other characters. And if you've seen Marty Robinson, like you look at him, you're like, that guy. I've seen him on many Sesame Street things. But he is one of those current performers who you watch talk about their character, and he clearly cares a lot about Snuffy and about portraying Snuffy in a way that kids can relate to. And he was also, he controlled the animatronics for Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So, yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. He also, I think one of his bigger credits is that he designed and built the puppets of Audrey 2 for, not the movie, but for the Broadway version of Little Shop of Horrors.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. But as far as the back end of Snuffy goes, it seemed like early on this was maybe a job that was just kind of like, hey, you get to be the butt. Sorry. Like, sort of an initiation for the youngins. People like Richard Hunt, Brian Mule, Frank Kane, and Peter Friedman all played the butt of Snuffy on and off. It obviously doesn't matter a whole lot. Obviously, you need somebody who is in tune with the first performer because if you're dancing, you need to be on the same feet and moving at the same time so you don't rip Snuffy in half. But since 1979, Bryant Young has been the performer for the back half of Snuffy.
They have a special one guy designated as Snuffy's butt.
Yep.
Wow.
He has also performed
okay.
Barkley, the dog, as well.
Uh-huh.
But it seems like he is mostly just Snuffy's butt.
So Snuffy's butt predates the person who plays Snuffy's head now, also.
Correct, yes. Bryant Young was already in the back half of Snuffy before Martin Robinson showed up and started playing the front of Snuffy.
Welcome to Snuffy, is what he said when the other guy climbed in.
Yeah, he was just sitting in there.
Yeah.
Marty Robinson goes to get in the front and he just hears from behind him, "Welcome to Snuffy."
Yeah.
It's like, what?
He loves being in there.
Yeah, it's where he
We
sleeps.
can't get him out. Yeah.
But apparently Bryant Young is a dancer and choreographer, so he's sort of trained for that, like syncing up the movements.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that like you've had this same guy playing a character's back half since 1979, even though not that he's easily replaceable, but if you're looking at a role that you feel like you could swap somebody in for, that feels like the one to swap somebody in. But I mean, I think maybe I'm underestimating what it takes to make Snuffy move around gracefully.
It's probably a sweet gig.
Yeah. A little bit more about Snuffy's family. Like we referenced, there are tons of Snuffleupaguses or Snuffleupagus. They've been referred to as both if you look them up. And one of the quotes I found about Alice, who is his little sister, is that John Stone apparently had high hopes for little Alice early on. The first time they did Alice on set, John Stone walked up and said, "You're cute as hell." and said, "This could be another Big Bird."
She is really cute.
Oh yeah, really
She
cute. But
wasn't
like, this could be another Big Bird. Feels like a bit of a stretch.
Sure.
But yes, we do have other family members. There's, you have the parents. You have Uncle Abe Snuffleupagus. You have a cousin who, I can't imagine this has aged well, but I couldn't find the clip to prove that. But you have Snuffy's Puerto Rican cousin, who visited Sesame Street in 1984, named Senor Esnofalopago. And he's basically just Snuffy in a sombrero.
Name. Oh, well, maybe that's not great.
I think part of the issue is that he's also performed by Marty Robinson.
Sure.
Who I'm sure had to put on a Puerto Rican accent to play that character. But there was also, what's interesting about that character is there was something known as the sombrero incident, which is where they built a sombrero for this character, and for some reason, it weighed 50 pounds when they made it. And so,
what?
Yeah. And so Marty Robinson was quoted as saying, a very heavy hat was built for him.
Very heavy hat.
Yeah. And then midway through the scene, the aluminum frame backpack I wear to support the beast gave way, dropping the entire character and puppeteers in a giant heap. Luckily, no one was hurt. Within about 20 minutes, the shop had drilled and riveted the broken section, allowing us to finish the show. When they had a proper amount of time, the Henson shop replaced the stressed backpack. Snuffy himself, 25 years later, is the same. So yeah, apparently they but after the sombrero incident, all hats and costume pieces were made much lighter.
Why did they need such a heavy sombrero?
I don't know. I feel like you could just, it feels like it'd be a very light thing.
You could just go buy a sombrero at the store. Wow. They put the sombrero on me and I died instantly. Basically what happened.
This is apparently, the story is featured in a book called Sesame Street, A Celebration 40 Years of Life on the Street. And I'm like, I need to buy that book now, because if it's got stories like that in it, I'm all for it.
Sesame Street's greatest disasters and near misses.
Yeah.
That would be the book.
But some other fun facts about Mr. Snuffleupagus: his favorite foods are cabbage and spaghetti. He dislikes...
Weird.
Yeah, it's a weird combo. He also dislikes apples and bananas because he's afraid of apples hitting him on the head, and he's afraid of slipping on bananas. So it's all out of fear that he dislikes those foods. He's also a big fan of opera music.
Mm-hmm. Weird.
Yep. In original scripts, he is called Galapagos, not Mr. Snuffleupagus. So they apparently at some point changed that before they actually named him.
Good change.
Yeah. His shoe size, we referenced earlier, fake shoe sizes, is 65 triple G.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the canon of Sesame Street, he stepped on a scale and is said to have weighed 1,000 pounds. So I'm guessing the puppet does not weigh 1,000 pounds, but
I would hope not.
Yeah, in canon, if the Snuffy was actually filled with meat and organs and bones, he would weigh 1,000 pounds apparently.
No, don't say stuff like that.
He also has a puppet named Gus at some point.
Why?
That he uses.
Does it go on his little snuffle?
It does, because they refer to it as his snuffle puppet Gus.
Ugh, I hate that. I hate him more and more the more you're talking about him.
I find Mr. Snuffleupagus a little creepy, but cute at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of my take on him.
Yeah, he looks like he smells bad, but not like really bad. Just kind of just a little like an animal stink.
Yeah, like you go to the zoo and that like smell of like animal fur and the stink it has attached to it. That's what you get with Snuffy, I think. I just texted you a picture. It's from the Muppet Wiki, and it's a list of other Uppaguses of the world.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
So
I was looking at this. You tweeted it.
Yeah, I tweeted out some of these because they're fascinating. But apparently at some point, Big Bird and Luis browsed through a floppy disk containing information about other Uppaguses of the world. And so, yeah, I wanted to run through these real quick and just kind of talk about some of these because they're wild. Okay. First, you have Double Uppagus. That's pretty normal. Fine. It's a blue Snuffleupagus, but he has 2 trunks. 2 snuffles. 2 trunks. My apologies.
Yeah.
That's okay. Not too weird. The next one is Glovelupagus, which has like a baseball mitt on the end of its snuffle and like maybe a catcher's mask and then also curly hair for some reason.
Now, the curly hair is where it loses me because it really looks like pubic hair.
Or it looks like a Jerry curl or something. Like they're trying to stylize this already furry creature by giving him a hairstyle. And I was trying to see if this was maybe like Mike Piazza inspired. Like they were trying to look at some baseball player, catcher from the era and try to make him look like that. I don't know. This is the most perplexing of all of them to me, though. Of like,
yeah, it doesn't hold together.
No. Because next you have Octopusalupagus, who is a Snuffleupagus with 8 snuffles. Again.
I mean, he looks like Cthulhu, but that's fine.
Oh, absolutely terrifying, because you have to remember he can control all of those individually.
Were you to see him in person, your mind would snap instantly, but that's okay.
Yeah. Then we have Snuggleuppagus, who looks like a teddy bear.
Him. He's quite cute.
Yeah. And then we have my favorite, which is Tyrannosuppagus Rex, who is basically Snuffy, who stands up on his hind legs and has claws and sharp teeth.
And sharp teeth and just madness in his eyes.
And I also want to tell anyone who hasn't looked these up yet, they all are like drawn in MS Paint. They all are terrible, early digital drawings. And then we have the normal Snuffleupagus, who just looks like a normal Snuffy.
Normal. After you see all the other horrors, he looks a little bit better.
Yes. There's also the weird fact that apparently Snuffleupaguses are indigenous to Hawaii.
I could see that. I like that.
Yeah.
He's an ancient megafauna that was just on that island and never had to evolve. There were no pressures.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we already kind of talked about it, but what are your feelings on Mr. Snuffleupagus as a character?
For some reason, a lot of my Sesame Street memories revolve around Big Bird and his supporting characters, like his directly supporting characters.
Right.
So, the dog, whose name I can never remember. Barkley. And Mr. Snuffleupagus loom large in my mind. And I think that could be because maybe my parents liked those characters and talked about them on occasion or something like that. But I have fond feelings in my heart for Snuffleupagus. I did have a question. Is he actually sad or does he just look sad?
He is actually sad early on at times because his whole thing was that oh dear. He had the same Eeyore quote early on, and then he had oh bird. And he was always a little bit more down in the dumps than other characters. He seemed to eventually they would give him more fun personality traits of he likes dancing, and there's the Snuffleupagus polka that he does. That's a traditional dance of the Snuffleupaguses. But overall I think he's kind of not quite as sad as an Eeyore, but he's got a tinge of sadness to him at all times.
Okay. Yeah, he is one of those Sesame Street characters like Oscar that doesn't quite fit in an interesting way.
Yeah.
That I appreciate. And my heart wants to give him 4 stars, even though I'm not sure he deserves it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm personally a huge fan of Snuffy. I think, as I said earlier, he's creepy to me a little bit. But he is cute.
If you saw him, it wouldn't be good to see him.
Yeah, he's not a Muppet I want to meet necessarily.
No. He looks like one who could lift you into his mouth and bite your head off.
But yeah, if we're giving stars out of 60, I feel like, yeah. I hate thinking about it in the like A to F grading scale because I feel like that's an unfair way to think about it. Because I don't want to fail
you're about
Snuffy.
To be brutal to
I
Mr.
am.
Snuffleupagus.
My first instinct was a 30.
Wow, this is the first Muppet you don't really like that much, I feel like.
And that's the thing is, like, I feel like there's some Muppets I like nothing, like middle of the road, whatever, don't dislike him that much. There's something about him that's always creeped me out a little bit. And I think I'm alone in this because he was very popular. When I'm looking into him, what I found interesting is looking through the merchandise that they were making back in the days of Sesame Street. There were a lot of toys coming out and that you could tell the Bert, the Ernie, the Big Bird, all of them were about the same size and shape of toy. So they're just like, they have this like 4-inch tall by 2-inch wide block of plastic they carve in to look like a character. There's like, the molds are probably pretty similar. Snuffy is always the outlier because he has to be made in a different form shape. And so I'm like, as a person thinking about merchandise, you have to like commit to like, okay, we're going out of our way to make Snuffy toys.
Yeah. There's a risk associated with a Mr. Snuffleupagus toy.
Yeah. So I think must have been super popular, but something about him still just, I don't know. It's something with the eyes. I think the eyelashes are so long that it's sort of unsettling.
Matt, it's okay to not like Muppets. Believe me. I don't like many of them.
We are going to move on and discuss some non-Muppet things we watched this week. We had more time. We only watched one Muppet thing. So what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week, Sam?
I actually didn't watch that much stuff this week, but I did. I'm at my parents' house for Father's Day weekend, and last night we watched Julie Andrews with the Muppets, and then we watched Eureka's Castle a little bit. Because my mom was like, oh, we used to like this show too. And I was like, oh yeah, I love Eureka's Castle. So we watched that for a little while. Not really a whole episode of any, but we like hopped around on YouTube watching that. And that was great. I could remember so much of it as the theme songs were happening, which I haven't looked up.
That's one of the best theme
reason.
songs of that era.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, this is in my brain, fully formed, just hiding somewhere.
It's one of the most like almost Muppet things that exist. I think we even have it on our bonus episode list to talk about because it's so close to being a Muppet thing, but it's not a Muppet thing.
Yeah. He actually came up, I think, because we were talking about R.L. Stine, and then my mom just happened to also mention Eureka's Castle as two things I liked as a kid, and I was like, did you know? both R.L. Stine productions. But yeah, the puppets look great. The voices are great. Is Magellan Bear in the Big Blue House?
I believe he is.
Yeah, I think so too. And Magellan's puppet, I could not figure out how they did it because he's got 2 working arms and his head's an arm. So behind Magellan must look wild.
I have not looked into Magellan recently, but yeah, I would have to figure that out.
I'm sure there's not nearly as much like material about Eureka's Castle also. So it's maybe just something you can't even know.
Yeah. But yes, you are right. That Noel McNeil played both Bear in the Big Blue House and also Magellan.
Because, that voice is just so recognizable. But it was so sweet. And I love Bog and Quagmire, the 2 like swamp monsters. I remember loving them as a kid, and I still thought they were hilarious.
Man, we need to definitely do a Eureka's Castle episode at some point because I do have fond memories of watching that show as a kid. And just I have not watched it in a long time.
How about you, Matthew? What did you watch?
So my wife's out of town, so
Hell yeah.
This is like the opportunity to watch all the stuff that like she hates. So I feel like some scary movies will be getting watched this week.
Hell yeah.
And I had this like thing of like maybe I'll watch all the Fast and the Furious movies this week while she's out of town.
Fuck yes.
Because I haven't seen all of them. And
9
there's the new
movies,
one coming out.
Dude. Yeah.
But what I've actually watched so far, I watched Starstruck on HBO Max, which is a new show with Rose Matafeo, who was on Taskmaster and is just a New Zealand comic. She's very funny. But it's a very good show. I'm like halfway through the series so far. It's only like 6 episodes. But it's sort of like Fleabag meets Notting Hill. Like it's sort of like a rom-com version of that, where the premise, which is in the trailer, so I won't spoil it, but it's Rose Matafeo's character goes out on New Year's Eve, drunkenly sleeps with a guy, wakes up and realizes that he's like a super famous actor. But yeah, I would recommend that series. It's very good. And I like Rose Matafeo. Her stand-up special on HBO Max is also very good. But I also, big accomplishment this week, I finally finished the story of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it.
Perfect.
Everyone,
no wife in the house game.
Pause for applause. Everyone pat me on the back that I finished this 3-year-old video game.
Well, I'm sure a lot of other people haven't finished it. There's a lot to do in that game.
Well, it's also, there's like 5 false endings on that game.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it's done. And it's like, oh no, there's an epilogue. And the epilogue is 6 hours long. You're like, God damn it.
Did you enjoy it?
There were times that I was like really into it and enjoying it. And then other times I was just like, dear God, let me finish this game. Especially when it was like realizing that the epilogue was going to take hours, where I was like, oh, I'm okay with an epilogue that's like a half hour to an hour's worth of work. But when you're going to give me like 6 to 8 hours of epilogue,
I might be wrong, but also a lot of the epilogue is about doing chores, correct?
Yep. And that's pretty much like once I got so mad at this because the game ended, the credits are rolling. I'm like, I finally finished the story. Fantastic. Awesome. And then it takes you right back to the farm. And I'm like, oh no, they want me to do more things. And the first thing they mention is chores and an errand that I need to run. And I'm like, no. And so I looked up online to make sure that there was no more like actual meaningful story things, and there's not. There's like side missions you can still go do. It's like a Grand Theft Auto game, but on a horse. So you can just go live in this world and do stuff forever if you want. The game's never really done. But I said, no, I'm done with this game. And so I took the disc out. I deleted the heavy the 50 gigabyte or 100 gigabyte, the install thing off of my PS5 to make room for other stuff, and it was like, you know what, I'm good. I will never play this game again.
You threw the disc in the fire.
Yeah, just broke it over my knee. I can't wait, and this is just making me more excited again to play some Muppet video games and see how good or bad some of them are.
When you posted that Mr. Snuffleupagus, those computer pictures that we just talked about, I thought that was a game, and I was going to tweet, like, I'm so excited to play Muppet games. I'm so excited to play the racing Muppet game when we get to it, the go-kart game.
I want to revisit the Muppet Mayhem at the Carnival, or whatever it's called, which was a game, is maybe the first Muppet thing I ever consumed, and one of the first video games I ever played, because I had
Is
it
it
on...
like an Atari thing or something?
It was on a couple different systems and consoles. We had an Apple II computer, the old black and green screen like Apples in our house when I was a kid, and I played this on like an actual floppy disk back in the day. So that's one where I'm like, I bet it's not fun as a game, but the nostalgia attached to that, like little 5-6-year-old Matt playing that game, loved it.
And we talked about this in an episode, and I cut it out. I might cut it out of this one, too. But listeners, we're going to play video games.
Oh, yeah.
I think that we're going to think of really fun ways to do it. What I really dearly want to do is try to figure out a way to cut out a huge amount of time and force Matt to play them to completion.
Why
no matter
just
what
me?
Game it is.
You don't have to play it to completion?
Because I'll be excited to do it, and you'll be complaining about it.
Depending on the game.
There's like a math game, and we are going to beat the math game.
But it's for children. We could beat a math game for children.
Gosh, maybe. We'll see. I don't know if I could.
But that does it for this week. We've exhausted our video game chat of the week. And so, yeah, next time we go from watching one thing to watching a bunch of things. We are going to be watching... the main feature will be the Muppets Valentine Show, which is the first pilot for what would become the Muppet Show. We'll also be watching some other Muppet TV appearances from 1974. We're actually going to be covering all of 1974 in next week's episode because there's a lot to cover, but we don't get to watch all of it because of, things being available on the internet. But we'll be watching TV appearances specifically on The Tonight Show, What's My Line, and the first appearance of Miss Piggy, which is on the Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass TV special.
Very weird.
Yes, which is, it's not the Miss Piggy you know and love, but it's a early proto version of Miss Piggy, and Miss Piggy will be our Muppet of the Week as well that week. But we want to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where you can find the playlist of the things we watch for the episodes. And you can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any Muppet memories you'd like to share with us, or if you'd like to scold us for the way we're doing this podcast, maybe. You can follow me on Twitter at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm at Slam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.